I've been thinking about Christianity recently and how many of the leaders in Christianity always seem to be saying no. Now, this is just a feeling, but when I see Christian leaders in the news or read about them in the news, they always seem to be opposed to whatever policies that are being debated in the public sphere. And they never seem to be coming up with solutions to these problems. Now, of course, this could be because news organizations like to interview Pharisees rather than people who actually follow Jesus, but that's neither here nor there. You see, as I've been walking through my journey of faith, I've realized something about Jesus, and that he brought solutions to problems wherever he went. The woman at the well, he showed compassion and love to her when the whole town rejected her. And when a large group of people who came to hear Jesus speak didn't bring enough food for themselves, Jesus provided food for them with 2 fishes and 3 loaves of bread. Now, I could go on and on about how Jesus brought solutions to the problems that he encountered in everyday life. But I want to point something out that I found was rather interesting. Jesus brought fundamental solutions to the problems of his day that were completely different than how the religious leaders of his day approached the problems. So this is where I'm at in my journey. I feel as if I need to start coming up with solutions to problems that I see around me. And these solutions might not be kosher with the religious leaders of the evangelical movement, which is what I'm a part of, but nevertheless, I want to be like Jesus and start coming up with solutions, even if it just gets the ideas out there. Now, the problem I want to wrestle with today is the topic of abortion. Now, I've already talked about abortion in one of my previous videos, but in this one, I want to talk about 4 possible solutions to bringing down the overall rate of abortion. Though I want to make something really clear before I start. I in no way am going to advocate or support any policy, any law that limits a woman's right to choose to have an abortion. I also want to make clear that I in no way am going to shame a woman who has made the hard choice to actually have an abortion. Because as I see it, I have made choices that are outside God's will, and God has not shamed me for making those choices. So, likewise, I'm not going to shame a woman for having an abortion. I'm going to love her as best as I can and have compassion on her, just like God had compassion on me. But, as a Christian, in the vast majority of cases, I don't like abortion. So here are my 4 solutions that I think might bring down the overall rate of abortion in this country. First off, sex education needs to be taught in schools, starting in elementary school with the basics, then moving on in middle school and up through high school. It should build to a point where students have a full understanding of the sexual complexities that accompany growing up. They need to know about everything that accompanies being an adult, from STDs and the dangers of them and how to avoid them, to contraceptives and the best ones that work and how they don't work. They also need to be educated on the myths of how to get pregnant and how not to get pregnant. Because there are a lot of misinformation out there that students themselves will tell each other from hearsay, and it's just not right. So they need to have a grasp of this as they grow older, especially when they get into high school and, junior and senior year. Now, I know that there are many people out there who don't want schools teaching their children about sex education and how to prevent unwanted pregnancies. They feel that it should be left to the parents. But the truth is, in those parts of this country in which this is a prevalent idea are the parts of this country with the highest amount of teen pregnancies. This, unfortunately, will lead teenagers to search out abortions, whether it's in a clinic or in a back alley. Good sex education can prevent this. Okay, moving on. Now, let's say that despite our best sex education classes, a teenager gets pregnant. If they don't have a good family support system that'll help them with raising the child and also finishing their education, we will have a program that'll help them raise the child and also be able to finish their education. But not only just finish their education, also give them job skills outside of our high school diploma that they can actually have a full-time, livable wage job that will be able to provide for themselves and for the child. Now, this job may not be the most pleasant. It may be a job in the trades, but nevertheless, it'll be a job that they will be able to have in order to actually support themselves and the child. Okay, my next solution to lowering the amount of abortions in this country is something simple. Make women's contraceptives available over the counter. Now, in most developed countries, this already takes place. But in my country, we're kind of backwards on this. If a woman wants birth control, she has to first go to her doctor and get a prescription. And then she has to go to the pharmacy to get that prescription filled. Now the sad thing is that there are many women who cannot go to a doctor to get this prescription because they don't have insurance and the cost is just too much for them. So if a woman's contraceptives could be purchased over the counter, this would lead to women not needing an abortion. My last solution to bringing down the amount of abortions in this country might seem to be a bit excessive, but if we make having a child less of a burden, then more people will have children and will not want to go to have an abortion when they get pregnant. Okay, let's say that you and your partner decide to have a kid. Both you and your partner would get 12 weeks of flexible, paid time off in order for you to actually bond with the child and have time with the child as you grow, as it's growing up to about 2 years old. For me, that's simple. Having a child becomes less of a burden for you, and therefore you'll want to have kids so that you won't actually think about having an abortion. So there you go. 4 simple solutions on how to actually reduce the amount of abortions. I know that some of my answers in today's videos are not going to satisfy everybody. But if I want to be a Christian in today's world, I have to come up with ideas and solutions to the problems. I can't be like the Pharisees, who were so dogmatic in their approach that they completely misunderstood what Jesus was doing. So in my mind, if Christians want to be more like Jesus, we must be more proactive and imaginative in coming up with solutions that vex the world around us. Because honestly, if we don't, we're just going to become a bygone faith that was a has-been, that once was great and is not anymore. So that's some of the things that I've been thinking about this week. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And of course, like the video, share the video, and subscribe. God bless.